Merry Christmas, and even though it's not Christmas yet, I'm getting in the mood, and I'm continuing this series of reviewing some of my personal favorite Christmas specials that are out there. And this week I'm going to be talking about the big Avengers level crossover event made by Jim Henson. A Muppet Family Christmas. So A Muppet Family Christmas originally aired in 1987 and was Jim Henson's big Christmas special where he brought together all the different characters from the various shows that he worked on, like the Muppets and Sesame Street and Fraggle Rock, and just had a big coming together for the holidays Christmas family celebration. And while at first this seems like a very simple, made for little kids, not a lot of effort thrown in kind of special that really only serves to occupy the little kids while mom and dad are out making Christmas preparations for dinner, this special, like a lot of things that Jim Henson was directly involved with, has way more effort put into it than it really deserves or needs to have. This special is creative, it's funny, it's heartfelt, it's nostalgic, and it's all done with Muppets just hanging out together. There's no big plot, there's no overarching story, they're not adapting Charles Dickens or anything. It's just the Muppets hanging out, and it surprisingly works. But now let's get into what makes this special work. So the story, as little as it is about Fozzie Bear's mom unexpectedly needing to host a bunch of people for Christmas. She wants to go to Malibu and catch some rays and surf, but Fozzie and the Muppets show up unexpectedly, so now she's got to cancel all her plans and now be a host. And that's a pretty standard setup, something you would expect from the Muppets. Nothing too crazy or inventive or out there. But the first glimpse you get of this not exactly being a normal Muppet story is when Doc and Sprocket from Fraggle Rock show up. Apparently they rented the house from Fozzie's mom to house sit and have a nice quiet Christmas alone. But that's shot, so all the Muppets are here, so Doc and Sprocket just kind of have to go with it, like how Mrs. Bear is just kind of going with it. So already you have a crossover element with Fraggle Rock, but also you have these older people, Doc and Mrs. Bear, that are just immediately made uncomfortable and a little fed up with the antics of the Muppets. Which, even though this special is still mostly made for little kids, it does have a bit of a harder, more cynical edge to it than a lot of the Muppet stuff that we get today. And I think a lot of that is a testament to Jim Henson. If you look at the early Muppet Show and some of the Muppet movies, there is a bit more cynicism and a bit more, I don't want to say adult humor because there's no language or innuendos or anything, but just mature humor, wordplay, sarcasm, sass, reactions, that kind of more adult type humor that you don't often get in kids' films nowadays. And you certainly don't get it nearly as much now that the Muppets are owned by Disney and they do have a bit more of a kid-friendly feel now. But this was back when Jim Henson was still very much alive and he had full control over the Muppets, and he wrote jokes and scenarios that he thought was fun. He didn't try to pander to any audience. But anyway, all the Muppets are here except for one, Miss Piggy. She didn't make it because she was doing this last-minute photo session with a photographer that's creepily into it, just a little too much.
Oh, now do that pouty thing. Oh, yes. Do that pouty thing. Oh, fabulous.
Yeah, I think the less we know about that photographer, the better. So because of that, Miss Piggy couldn't arrive with the rest of the gang, so she's delayed, and she has her own kind of planes, trains, and automobiles type misadventure trying to get here by Christmas Eve night. And there's something about whenever they cut to Miss Piggy and you see her being covered in mud, or you see her in the middle of a blizzard and blow away, or just generally in pain, it cracks me up because we don't often get to see Miss Piggy in pain. She's usually the one dishing out pain with her karate chops, but she's usually not on the receiving end of that kind of physical humor. Usually her pain comes through with people calling her a pig or fat or ugly, but she usually doesn't get involved in the slapstick so much. But here she does, and it's really funny. But back in the farmhouse, you have the Muppets, and in between jokes, you have them singing various Christmas carols. And there's a point where Robin, Kermit's nephew, is with Kermit, and he's like, oh, it's so nice to have everybody here for the holidays. And Kermit's just a little sad because Piggy's not here yet. And Robin, in his sweet, innocent voice, starts singing Jingle Bells.
Jingle bells, jingle bells, jingle all the way.
And it kind of grinds the special to a halt, and I'm like, oh, this feels kind of forced. The other songs, while obviously forced, didn't feel like it stopped the story that they were telling, but this one does. But I do kind of give it a pass because it seems like they cut off Robin's song early because Electric Mayhem starts jamming out with their Jingle Bell Rock. So it's kind of Jingle Bell to Jingle Bell Rock transition. And I think it does work, but I also think it would have been a lot funnier if it was edited like this.
Jingle bells, jingle all the way. Oh,
Jingle bell, jingle bell rock.
Just a little more sudden and a little harsher, just to up the comedy a little of, okay, Robin, your song's bringing us down. We gotta pick up the energy again. But I don't know, maybe that's just too mean-spirited for the Muppets. But speaking of mean-spirited, my favorite moments in this special involve the turkey and the Swedish Chef. Now, Swedish Chef has always been my personal favorite Muppet character, probably because he might be the most violent, aside from Mad Harry. But unlike Mad Harry, who just wants to blow everything up, the chef actually wants to cook and eat his fellow Muppets, because there's a lot of Muppets that are turkeys, that are fruits and vegetables, and they all have faces and they all have personalities. And the idea that this Swedish chef is just going to cook them up, kill them, and eat them is kind of hilarious in that mean-spirited kind of way. And then this special, he really brings it out in a few different ways, starting with the turkey. Now, the turkey arrives and he's undercover, he's wearing sunglasses, and he talks with Gonzo about being invited here, but he's very wary, he's a survivor. And that kind of devolves into this cat and mouse game for a little bit where the Swedish chef is trying to find the turkey, but the turkey's telling him that other things are turkey, like Sprocket the dog, and the chef believes him, which proves to me that the Swedish chef has absolutely no credentials in the culinary arts. He has no idea what he's doing. He doesn't know how to cook. I don't even think he understands English. You know, people talk to him and he responds, and it seems like that he can understand English, but he doesn't speak English. I don't think he even understands English. He's just so clueless. In fact, you see him for a brief moment just smacking pots and pans around as if that's normal cooking behavior, and the movie never addresses it again. They never bring it up like, oh, that's weird, that's not how you cook. No, they just let it go and don't address it ever again. But really, the humor with the chef and the turkey peaks when the Sesame Street gang shows up. And yeah, this is not just a crossover with the Muppets and Doc and Sprocket from Fraggle Rock. We haven't really seen the Fraggles yet, but now the whole Sesame Street gang is here. Everybody's here. We got Bert and Ernie, we've got the Count, we've got Cookie Monster, Oscar. Everybody's here, including Big Bird. And this may be the darkest place that the Muppets and Sesame Street have ever gone to. You know that meme that circulated around Thanksgiving and Christmas a few years ago about Sesame Street celebrating the holiday and everyone's around the table, and then you just have this big roasted turkey with Big Bird's legs sticking out of it, and it's implied that they ate Big Bird for Thanksgiving or Christmas, I don't remember which one. And you see it and you laugh because it's funny, because there's no way Sesame Street would actually cook and eat Big Bird for Thanksgiving. But the Muppets don't care, they'll do it. So the turkey points the Swedish chef in the direction of Big Bird. He starts shaking, his mouth starts watering, and he's getting ready to cook them, and later Big Bird comes in and he's measuring them and he's salting them and doing all the things to prepare him to go in the oven. And the first time I watched this special, I legitimately thought that we may see Big Bird die. But then Big Bird kind of talks him out of it, and at first I was like, I don't know if I like this. They're not going to go through with the joke of killing and eating Big Bird. Even though that is way too dark and twisted for a children's Christmas special, I still felt like if that didn't happen, I would feel kind of cheated, like they didn't go all the way with the joke. But the way that Big Bird talks him out of it is so in character with the innocence of Sesame Street and the good nature and the friendliness that is Big Bird that I couldn't imagine this exchange going any other way, because there's something about the Sesame Street characters meeting the Muppet characters and bringing that childlike innocence and naivete and kindness that the Muppets really don't have. The Muppets are pretty cruel, malicious, petty people, and the Sesame Street crew isn't, except for Oscar, and that's why we all love Oscar. But the rest of them are very kind, innocent people, and seeing that clash in such a way where Big Bird makes the Swedish chef cry by singing a Christmas song with him and talking about how much he must miss being away from home in Sweden and missing his family, and giving him a little bit of chocolate-covered bird seed as a Christmas present. It's just so sweet and in character for both of them that you're like, yeah, that is how that would play out. But the special doesn't stop there. We've already got a bit of Fraggle Rock, the Muppets, Sesame Street. It's already a really crowded special, so let's make it even more crowded. Robin's in the basement and he calls out to Kermit that he's made a discovery and he found a Fraggle hole, and it takes them to Fraggle Rock, and they meet the Fraggle Rock characters that I do not remember any of their names. I'm gonna be honest with you, I never really watched Fraggle Rock. I think I saw a couple episodes here and there, but I don't really remember it at all. I was much more of a Muppet kid, and just like every kid, of course I watched Sesame Street, so I'm familiar with them. But Fraggle Rock is something that I didn't really know. So watching the special and seeing Doc and Sprocket and the Fraggles down in the little Fraggle hole, the way they talk about it and explain it in this special is accessible to people like me that don't really know that much about the lore of Fraggle Rock, so that we're not confused when all of a sudden there's a Fraggle hole and a portal to another dimension. They do a decent enough job at explaining all that without it feeling like basic exposition and just halting the story. And I'm not gonna lie, I really enjoyed this segment with the Fraggles. They don't really know what Christmas is, but they have their own weird holiday with a pebble that just gets passed around to everybody. And it makes it an inclusive moment without feeling like you're pandering to every religion out there. It's this tradition that doesn't exist, and you can inject whatever holiday you celebrate, be it Christmas or Hanukkah or winter solstice, whatever it is, you can identify it with Fraggle Rock. And the song is really catchy. It's an original song. It's not just a classic Christmas carol done into a different language. It's an original song. It may be the only original song in this whole special. Everything else is just recycled classic Christmas carols and Christmas songs that we've heard a million times. And I don't know why, but this guy just makes me laugh. It's such a weird sound to come out of his mouth. I'm a child. Funny noises just make me laugh. But as for story and new characters, that's about it. Miss Piggy comes in at the very end with about 10 minutes left in the runtime, and she sings a song and she arrives. Everybody's happy. And the last 10 minutes is just back-to-back Christmas carols. They all just sit down. Sesame Street, Muppets, Fraggles. They're all here. They're sitting in the living room, on the couch, on the chair, on the stairs, anywhere there's room, and they're looking at the camera and they're just singing their hearts out. And while some might see this part of the special being the point where it overstays its welcome and it feels like it's dragging on because they're literally just staring at the camera and singing, I see it as the perfect ending to this special, because what else would you really want from a Muppet Family Christmas? A special that is this massive crossover event with all these different Jim Henson properties coming together to celebrate Christmas. You'd want to see them all in a room singing together as one big family unit. So yeah, I think it kind of works. And the addition of a Jim Henson cameo, a man who rarely was ever seen alongside his fellow Muppets on screen, makes this moment and this special as a whole feel even more special, because Jim Henson was such an important person in the identity and the development of the Muppets and Sesame Street and Fraggle Rock and all these properties, that now that he's sadly gone, it's nice to see him interact, even if it's just this brief cameo, with all these Muppet characters that he designed and built. And because of this, I do see this special as a loving tribute to Jim Henson and all the great work that he's done throughout his life. But now I turn over to you guys. What do you think about the Muppet Family Christmas? Have you seen it? Did you see it when it first came out? It's on YouTube right now. I have a link in the description. It's kind of an obscure special, so check it out and let me know what you think. And if you like this video, be sure to give it a like and subscribe for more content, and hit the notification bell to be notified every time I upload a video. And as always, I'm Colby. This is my nerdy talk, and I'll see you in the next video.